As we get closer to the beginning of the NBA season, the rumors in terms of what this season could mean, what could change as a result of this season, or even during it, at the trade deadline, potential free agency options, those things really start to heat up. Let's begin with a Damian Lillard update. Now, we've gone through this entire saga with all different kinds of reports. There was Dame only wants to go to Miami, and then things escalated to Dame is telling other teams that he will not show up unless it is Miami. Then the league was like, hey, by the way, you can't do that. And now we're getting even more reports that not only would Dame only go to Miami, but the only two training camps overall that he would report to would be Miami and then Portland. Now, this is basically doing what they were doing before the league got mad at them for, but it's not directly coming from the agent. It's just like a leak and a report and a rumor, and also something that we all kind of already know. But the interesting thing to me was that Portland was included in this, and that makes me wonder if maybe there's a possibility here of Dame returning to Portland if for whatever reason they just can't make the Miami thing work. If as an organization they've decided that they are not going to trade Damian Lillard to the Miami Heat, then at what point do you go to Dame and say Miami isn't an option? Given that information, would you like to return to the team this season, try and mentor Scoot Henderson? Maybe we'll have a better season than we would have otherwise. I haven't really considered that as a true possibility in terms of Dame returning to the team in full. I had considered it as a possibility in terms of him being on the roster but not actually playing, maybe up until the trade deadline where another team potentially steps up with an offer. But right now, all we're getting is Dame as well as the organization going back and forth, just kind of posturing and saying, this is what I want. Well, okay, well, this is what I want. And we really don't actually seem to be as close to a resolution as it once seemed like we were. In terms of the actual trade, we've been getting some reports and rumors about what Miami is or is not willing to trade in exchange for Dame. The sticking point at the moment appears to be Caleb Martin, which is an interesting development because Caleb Martin's a good player, but haggling over that piece of the trade means either it's very, very close to happening and they're just trying to figure out a few other small little details, or Miami's so convinced that their competition here is only Dame returning to Portland itself that they are willing to let this drag out and really try and make the absolute best, most efficient, best possible deal for Miami that they can. And I honestly have no idea which side of the spectrum we are on in that, but that is our Damian Lillard update at the moment. We're also getting more and more rumors about not only the Joel Embiid situation in Philadelphia, but also as that relates to the New York Knicks, which we're going to talk about with one of the other entries in this video a little bit later on. But the concern about Joel Embiid being upset with Philadelphia as a result of the James Harden situation and the Ben Simmons situation previously, those rumors are only starting to increase, as is the concern around the league, or at least that's kind of the sense they're getting from Philadelphia, that maybe they've pushed things a little bit too far by not bringing back James Harden, by now introducing a very awkward situation, by having James Harden come back to a team that he has already said he does not want to play for. And obviously the concern is that eventually Joel Embiid is going to throw his hands up and say, I love Philadelphia, I love the organization, I need to try and go win a title elsewhere. And the team that continues to get brought up and mentioned is the New York Knicks, because they have those previous connections with Embiid that have been discussed in terms of members in the front office as a former agency members for Joel Embiid. That's a big concern and something that continues to get brought up every single week. More reports, more rumors about the possibility of Joel Embiid not only leaving Philadelphia in the first place, but potentially going to New York as well. And honestly, the only reason that the concern isn't higher is because of the connection that Embiid has to the franchise, has to the city, how much he enjoys being a Sixer. And without that, we would be even more concerned about the possibility of him leaving. But given the level of concern, even despite his very clear connection with the team and the city, this is something not only to continue to monitor, but that I'm becoming increasingly convinced will happen eventually. And that also includes our next entry here, and that is Giannis. We've talked about in a couple of videos recently some of the concerns about Giannis potentially leaving an aging core there in Milwaukee, even not long ago talking about the possibility of him joining Golden State at some point. But now, again, as it relates to the Embiid thing, we're getting more and more of those rumors about him possibly going to New York. Even some people mentioning that one of Embiid or Giannis are going to be a New York Knick within a calendar year, which seems, like a pretty far out thing to say at the moment, but we know that these things can change quickly. If Milwaukee isn't good this year, if Philly can't recover from the Harden thing, both those teams win like 48 games, kind of in the middle of the conference, maybe win one postseason series, which by the way is a realistic expectation for either of them. Philadelphia, if anything happens to Embiid injury-wise, or if they can't overcome the Harden thing, they could easily just win one playoff series. And again, we're looking at a disappointing year for Philadelphia. Milwaukee has had their fair share of injuries over the last couple of seasons, as well as this aging core. They could just go out with only winning one postseason series. We've seen that over the years from them. We obviously saw how disappointing they were in the postseason last year as a result of injuries, and that can change a lot of things even within the span of 1 year. We've already gotten, some comments publicly from both Giannis as well as Embiid in terms of them maybe questioning their future with their respective franchises, and that is always something to keep an eye on. And then also outside of the NBA directly here, we're getting some interesting reports and rumors and speculation about what the 2024 Olympic team is going to look like for Team USA. More specifically, the idea of LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph, maybe even Joel Embiid himself, putting together a top tier group to really try and just put the best team on the floor that they can for Team USA in 2024 in the Olympics. This is coming off of a disappointing performance at the World Cup for Team USA. And really, I just kind of want to give my thoughts on this because it's something we don't talk about a ton on the channel, but the international, kind of scene right now for Team USA basketball it doesn't look great. They've had a lot of disappointing performances in international play. And to me, the idea of 40-year-old LeBron going to Paris in 2024 and playing the Olympics and leading a group, including guys like Steph, KD, it's interesting and it's fun for all of about 2 seconds to think about all those guys playing on the floor together and, this redeem team kind of notion that we've had for a couple of different versions of Team USA basketball. But to me, if they actually did that, one, I'd be a little bit concerned about the age of these guys and them putting even more miles on their bodies in between, what are hopefully, at least for all three of those guys, going to be long seasons here coming up. That'd be a concern, but also Team USA not being as dominant as they've been for a long time is part of what makes, the World Cup and at times the Olympics really interesting to me. If they showed up with literally the best 15 guys that they possibly could, international basketball has gotten much better, but they'd have far and away the best roster there, and that really wouldn't be all that interesting to me. The more interesting thing to me would be continuing to put out these younger rosters and have those guys go and play internationally. Have Jason Tatum, have Jaylen Brown, have Donovan Mitchell, have guys like that go overseas. And yeah, they might not win gold, but to me, I've always seen Team USA as a little bit more of a, the value more so is to give these younger guys an opportunity to see what it's like to play on that stage, to grow and develop their games. I think we saw that with Anthony Edwards at the World Cup, seeing how he compares to what most people consider his peers at his position and at his age. Very clearly, he's head and shoulders above everyone else on that team. And that, to me, has always been the value of international play and the idea of having all these legends go over there, the best 15 guys that we can put on the team. Yes, that's interesting, but to me, from a gameplay perspective, in terms of actually watching and really enjoying Olympic basketball, Team USA putting their B or C team together and going over there and trying to win, and by the way, still having a very, very good chance and arguably should be favored to still win the entire event, that is much more interesting. Mostly, I've seen positive reactions to the idea of LeBron and KD and these guys going over there and playing, but to me, it seems like it's going to happen, but two, I'm personally just not that interested in it, and I don't know, I feel like I'm in the minority on that one a little bit. But those are the rumors that we have going into this upcoming season, and I honestly cannot wait for the year to get started.